In recent days, many people have followed emotional reports involving Savannah Guthrie, watching her appear before cameras with remarkable composure during a deeply personal crisis. Viewers have praised her steadiness, calling it strength and grace under pressure. But whenever someone lives life in the public eye, there is always a visible version and a private one. What we see is often measured and carefully spoken. What we don't see is the weight carried behind closed doors. At 54, Savannah is not just a broadcaster delivering statements. She is a daughter facing uncertainty about someone she loves dearly. The public witnesses the poise, the family feels the ache, and between those two realities lies a very human story about love, fear, responsibility, and the complicated expectations that shape us long before the world starts watching. A life built on dedication. At 54, many professionals reach a stage where their hard work begins to feel settled and established. For Savannah, that milestone represents decades of commitment and resilience in American broadcast journalism. Her career at NBC has placed her at the center of major national conversations. And as a co-anchor on Today, she has navigated the relentless pace of live television with consistency and credibility. Building such a career requires more than talent. It demands endurance, adaptability, and the ability to remain composed when circumstances shift without warning. Alongside professional demands, she has raised a family and balanced the expectations placed on someone whose face greets millions each morning. By this stage in life, many would expect a season of relative calm. Instead, she has found herself managing a personal crisis while still fulfilling public responsibilities, a challenge few can truly imagine. When personal crisis becomes public. When troubling news surfaced about her mother, Nancy Guthrie, it quickly became part of a national conversation. Reports from authorities in Tucson confirmed that an investigation was underway, and concerns spread rapidly. For most families, such a moment unfolds privately, surrounded by close relatives and trusted friends. For Savannah, the situation developed under intense public scrutiny. Every statement carried weight. Every appearance was analyzed. She had to consider not only her own emotions, but also how her words might influence an ongoing investigation. That dual pressure, protecting a loved one while communicating carefully to millions, creates an emotional strain that is difficult to articulate. Behind each composed sentence was a daughter waiting for reassurance, hoping for updates, and navigating fear while still showing up for work. It is an extraordinary balancing act, and it reveals the complicated reality of living personal heartbreak in a very public arena. The silent weight of health concerns. One of the most distressing aspects of the situation involves concerns about Nancy's health. At 84, managing medical needs requires consistency and care. When uncertainty surrounds an older loved one, especially one dependent on regular medication, the anxiety can feel relentless. Time begins to carry a different meaning. Hours are no longer casual markers in a day. They become measures of safety and risk. For Savannah, this awareness likely intensified every passing moment. While she addressed the public calmly, she was undoubtedly thinking as a daughter first, hoping that her mother was safe and receiving what she needed. This layer of worry is profoundly human. Anyone who has cared for aging parents understands the quiet fear that accompanies disruptions to routine and medical stability. It is a reminder that beyond headlines and speculation lies a family grappling with vulnerability, love, and the fragile realities that come with advancing age. Strength learned early in life. To understand Savannah's composure, one must consider how resilience is often shaped long before adulthood. Nancy raised her children with clear expectations about perseverance and responsibility. Like many parents who have endured hardship, she emphasized strength and self-reliance. Over time, those lessons can become deeply internalized. For Savannah, professionalism and emotional control may not simply be career tools. They may be reflections of values learned in childhood. When crisis strikes, people often fall back on what they were taught early on. Some express emotion openly, others focus on action and steadiness. Neither approach is wrong, both are ways of coping. In Savannah's case, the ability to remain measured during turmoil likely reflects a lifetime of training herself to respond rather than react. The public may call it extraordinary strength, but at its core it is a very human instinct to hold things together when those around you need reassurance, the dual role of daughter and public figure. What makes this moment uniquely challenging is the dual identity Savannah carries. She is both a daughter and a national news anchor. In private, she experiences fear, hope, frustration, and exhaustion, like anyone else would. In public, she must communicate clearly and responsibly. These roles can feel contradictory. A daughter might want to break down, to cry without restraint, to retreat from the spotlight entirely. A journalist, however, understands the importance of clarity and composure. Navigating these roles simultaneously requires emotional discipline. It also demands support from trusted friends and colleagues who understand the weight she carries. When public figures face personal hardship, audiences often see only what is shown on camera. What remains unseen are the quiet moments after the lights dim, when strength gives way to vulnerability, and when reassurance from loved ones becomes essential. That unseen space is where the most genuine human experience unfolds, the power and complexity of a mother's love. At the center of this story is the relationship between a mother and daughter. Nancy's influence shaped Savannah's character, ambition, and worldview. Love between parent and child is rarely simple. It carries expectations, lessons, and sometimes unspoken pressures. Many adults continue seeking affirmation from their parents long after they have achieved professional success. No matter how accomplished someone becomes, the approval of a parent can still feel uniquely meaningful. In times of crisis, that bond grows even more significant. Savannah's public strength may coexist with a private longing for reassurance from the person who guided her earliest steps. This dynamic is not unusual. It is profoundly human. Behind every accomplished adult is a child who once looked to a parent for guidance and comfort. When circumstances threaten that connection, the emotional impact can reach deep into memories, identity, and the lifelong desire to feel understood and supported. The emotional toll of uncertainty. Uncertainty can be more exhausting than confirmed bad news. Waiting for updates, interpreting fragments of information, and imagining possibilities can drain emotional reserves quickly. For Savannah and her family, each day likely brought a mixture of hope and apprehension. Support poured in from colleagues, viewers, and friends, offering prayers and encouragement. Yet even with widespread goodwill, uncertainty remains intensely personal. No amount of public sympathy can replace the reassurance of direct contact with a loved one. This period likely required resilience not only from Savannah, but from her entire family circle. It is during such stretches of waiting that communities often come together, reminding those affected that they are not alone. The compassion expressed by viewers reflects a shared understanding. Beneath the public persona is a family navigating one of life's most frightening experiences, holding on to hope while facing the unknown. What this moment teaches us stories like this invite reflection beyond the individuals involved. They remind us that public figures experience the same vulnerabilities as anyone else. Titles, accolades, and professional stature do not shield a person from fear for a parent's safety. They also highlight how early lessons about strength and composure shape adult responses to crisis. For viewers, the situation encourages empathy. Rather than seeing only the polished surface presented on television, we can remember the human reality beneath it. Compassion grows when we acknowledge that resilience often coexists with deep emotional strain. Savannah's measured appearances do not erase her worry. They simply show one way of coping. Recognizing that duality allows us to approach such stories with greater understanding and kindness, focusing not on speculation but on support for a family enduring a profoundly difficult chapter. Holding on to hope and humanity. At its heart, this story is about love, endurance, and hope. It is about a daughter who has spent her life striving to meet high standards and who now faces a test that no professional achievement could prepare her for. It is about a mother whose influence remains powerful, even in absence. And it is about the reminder that, in moments of crisis, what matters most are simple human truths: reassurance, connection, and unconditional love. As the investigation continues and the family awaits clarity, the most meaningful gesture from the public is empathy. Behind every camera appearance is a person longing for good news. Behind every composed statement is a beating heart, hoping for reunion. In the end, beyond careers and headlines, what sustains people are the words we all need to hear at some point in life. You are loved, you matter, and you never have to face the hardest days alone.